All right, welcome everybody. Sorry, I'm trying to look on here, and how do I get rid of that now? There we go. Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Process Spotlight here. I'm your host, Brother Dan Goodwin, coming to you live this September 5th. Can you believe it? September the 5th, 2024. Can you believe it? And I'm coming to you live via Facebook as well as here on YouTube. This is episode number 4, part 4 of our series, The Return of Rome. And hopefully I don't have to go back and review all this, do I? Hopefully not. But we're talking about what the Bible says about the revised Roman Empire being the end time government system, right? Remember that? And if that's true, if that fourth kingdom of Rome that is no longer a world power, but is still here, made up of all the other kingdoms, Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome, all made up in this final end time kingdom that's going to arise and crown the Antichrist. If that's true, and it is, and if we are near the end, and we are, then that kingdom ought to be visible to us to some degree, and it is. And we're going to bring part 4 tonight on this topic, the return of Rome. Rome is returning to the world. It never fully left. Even here in America, Great Britain, and other places, Roman principles, Babylonian principles, religions, customs, politics, commercial entities all have their roots back in these original kingdoms, all the way back to Babylon. But it's the Roman Empire that's coming back. But remember, each time a kingdom took over another kingdom, and it's grafted in it. So some of those attributes become part of the next kingdom. I explained all that. I hope you got that. Okay. So what I want to bring out tonight, briefly, a little further here, this final kingdom is made up of, Doc says 3 entities. I call it 2 entities because I believe the political entity includes the commercial part. I mean, the government controls the money, doesn't it? You heard the Federal Reserve. I realize it's not federal really, and there's no reserve there. But our government kind of oversees that, and we elect the Fed chairman. And they do and all that. How you doing, Brother Warren? And so I yoke the commercial in with the political. I think it's one and the same to some degree. Remember now, our Congress, we have 3 branches of government. The second branch of government, you got the executive, that's the president. You got the judicial, that's the court system. Then you got Congress, which is made up of 2 entities. Remember, Congress also is in charge of the money. You've heard them say the purse. Congress controls the purse. Every dollar that's spent is approved by Congress. And so what I'm saying is the political and the commerce, the money, the financial system is kind of one entity there. But okay, I don't want to beat a dead horse, don't want to argue over it. The other is the religious. Okay, Babylon is made up of a political system and a religious system. Rome, ancient Rome. I've been studying ancient Rome today. I got all kinds of stuff up here, but I probably won't share very much of it with you here. But I've been looking at the Roman Empire. I've been looking for things that maybe fit, and I've got a few things for you tonight. Some things that we should see. If Rome is coming back, we should see some things. And we're going to share some things out of my book, The 500-Year-Old Prophecy of Henry VIII, trying to get the glare off of that. Henry VIII, that fine, upstanding, good-looking fella right there, right? And I love this book, by the way. I put a lot of effort in this. This is really fancy, glossy paper in it. There's color pictures in it, and this is an interesting book. If you don't have this, you ought to go on the website and order this. It's not really a prophecy. I call it that, but it's not really. It's not a Bible prophecy. So let me explain what this is and why this book is important and how it applies to the return of Rome topic that we're on part 4 of. Okay. And all right, we got a good crowd tonight so far. We got quite a few on. We got more on YouTube than we do on Facebook, and so good to see everybody tonight. And I'm gonna keep this down to 10 or 15 minutes here, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, and Warren Hurd doesn't ask me any questions. Okay, so the Roman Empire is coming back. It never fully left, but it's coming back. It'll be made up of two entities: the political and the religious. The political is going to be the Antichrist being crowned in Revelation 6, verses 1 and 2. The man on the white horse, a crown is placed on his head. That's the political guy who's going to head this thing up. But there's another guy that Revelation 13 talks about. Remember, Revelation 13 talks about a beast that comes out of the sea and a beast that comes out of the land. And they're two different people. Now, don't confuse these guys. One of them is the Antichrist. By the way, they're both men. They're both human beings. They're not AI. They're not a robot. They're not a computer. I've heard all this stuff. Remember, I'm always saying you got to get all the pieces of the puzzle. I have a lot of pieces of the puzzle, and I can tell you, the Antichrist and the false prophet are the first two people cast into the lake of fire. So what does that tell you? They're human beings with a soul, just like you and I. Okay. I do not believe the Antichrist is Judas resurrected. I do not believe that. I don't believe the Bible teaches that. Okay. So there's the beast from the land, the beast from the sea. One guy is the Antichrist. The other guy is who? Well, the guy we call the false prophet. He's the religious guy. He's the one with the two horns that we read about in Daniel. Okay. So that guy, the religious guy, is going to be the promoter of the political guy. He's going to push him up before the people. He's going to push people to worship this guy eventually. Okay, so he's going to brag on him. He's going to be there. He's going to be there propping him up, drawing people to him, just like the Holy Spirit does, right? Remember, Satan has his false trinity. Just like Father, Son, Holy Spirit, we got the Father is represented by Satan. The Son is the Antichrist, and the Holy Spirit is represented by the false prophet. Remember now, you say, well, shouldn't Jesus be the religious guy? No, Jesus is a politician. He's coming to set up a kingdom. He's going to be the King of Kings. Okay, he's the political part of this, and the Holy Spirit would be the religious part of the Trinity, and the false prophet. Okay, so this religious guy has to be on the scene. Now it could be the Pope. I've always said it's the Pope. I'm not so sure anymore. I'm not so sure it's not a different person within the Roman Church. But remember this now, it's not just a Roman church anymore, is it? You got Babylon, you got Persia, you got by the way, that's Muslim country, isn't it? You attributes of Babylon, Persia, and Greece. Greece with their gods and their colosseums and all that. And doesn't that sound like the Nephilim guys today and the Greek mythology? It's everywhere on the prophecy stations. It's unbelievable. These guys are teaching fairy tales. They're teaching sci-fi. Many of them are teaching Greek mythology. Shame on them. Get back to the Bible, you guys. Get back to the Word of God. My goodness, get my book, The Great End Time Distraction. You see the UFO and the Nephilim and all this stupid stuff. And here's a guy trying to figure out what the truth is, and he's bombarded by all this stuff. We're in the last days. The trumpet's getting ready to sound. And what are we doing? We're looking for these guys and UFOs, and we've gone after fairy tales and sci-fi stuff. This book will prove to you that there's no such thing as these angels, fallen angels, riding around in flying saucers. It's ridiculous. And I'll prove many other things in that book. Some of that is in the brand new book, the Prophecy Puzzle. It's only been out a few weeks. There are chapters from many of my books inside of this book to make up the complete puzzle. And by the way, let me say this before we go any further. I have created a PowerPoint presentation, most of it dealing with the beginning of the book, explaining the puzzle and how to put a puzzle together, how to put prophecy together. And I am going to be trying to get into some churches, either a one-day thing, a one-service thing, or a multi-day thing, whatever the pastor wants. And I believe I can help the pastor, and I can help your people if you'll bring me in. So if you're a pastor, pray about that. Contact me. I'd love to talk to you about what I can do to help your church put the pieces together, and maybe help you put some pieces together as well. If you're not the pastor, maybe you're an assistant pastor, or maybe maybe you know your pastor real well. Maybe bring it up and tell them about our ministry here, and what I could do. Okay. And I've got 2 churches already that I'm pretty sure I'm going to have scheduled here, and there'll be many more to come. I wanted to start this in September. It's September. Probably not going to start this Sunday. I'm probably going to get in a couple of churches the following Sunday over in Louisville area and Carrollton, Kentucky area. Haven't officially set it up yet, but I believe I will. And going to be good stuff, exciting stuff. I'll put some slides up. I'll help you and your people understand the puzzle, how to put it together. And I'm telling you, I don't care, even if you're good with prophecy, I'll help you with some things. I promise you that. All right, so tonight, there's one other thing before we get into old Henry here. I have, believe it or not, this book just came out. I lost several months off my life getting this book done. I'm already working on another one that's going to be out the end of this month, believe it or not. Just a few weeks. I am doing a Daniel study guide. I've been talking about that for years and have never got to it. Well, I got to it. And I've already got a cover. I will be putting it up probably tomorrow. I will be putting a picture of the book and a pre-order so that you can pre-order it and help me out. I'll have a way you can buy one, or I'll have a way you can buy 2 a little cheaper. And if you can do the 2, it would be a help to me. And we want to get these out there. Give one to your pastor, okay? Give one to somebody. Give one to your Sunday school teacher, whatever. I'm telling you, my book of Daniel study guide will be like no other study guide you've ever looked at. That's just the way I am. If you have my Revelation study guide, you know that's true. My study guides are not like anybody's. They're on the bottom shelf. I give application. I give lessons. What does this mean to us? If you've read my stuff, you know what I'm talking about. My Daniel study guide will be the same way. It's going to be very applicable, very bottom shelf, easy for you to grasp. I'm actually in the Revelation going to be a little more thorough. I'm going to list the verses as we go through the chapters. For instance, maybe verse 1 and 2 of the introduction or something. I'll say something about those. I'll put those, and then I'll put maybe 3, 4, and 5 go together. I'll list those verses, and I'll say something about those verses. And then I'll go to 6, 7, 8, 9, In other words, the verses that all go together, I'll keep them together. But it's not going to be exhaustive, but I'm going to give you some good information from the passages as we read through the chapters. I'm going to do like I did in Revelation. There'll be a theme for each chapter. There'll be at the end of then there'll be a summary of the chapter where I go through the verses and I explain what the verses are talking about. I'll as I go through it, I'll give some lessons as we go, and it's going to be good. I don't know how many pages yet. It'll be 100 pages or less, probably less, but we'll see. There's only 12 chapters in Daniel. By the way, it's going to be book form. It's going to be the size of this book right here, only it's going to be spiral bound, like my Revelation study guide. And of course, it won't be this thick. This is 270 pages. It'll be half that or less. So, it'll be half that. In fact, probably it might be a third of that. And it'll be spiral bound. You can lay it out on your table. It's going to be a great book. So watch for that. I will probably get that up tomorrow for pre-order. Get 2 if you can. And I'm not sure, but I think it's going to be $15 for one, $25 for 2, which is a good buy. And with the cost of postage going up and the cost of printing, stuff's getting expensive. But I think that'll still work for me. I think that'll be good. Now, 2 will be a good buy for you. So if you can help me out with that, and if you have not yet gotten your prophecy puzzle book, get that thing. This is the most important book that I've written in all the years I've been writing. You say, well, I thought your King James book was the most important. It's in here. It's in here. I thought your barley harvest was. Let me tell you where the barley harvest is. Come on, where is it? Must have passed it. Here we go. Final piece of the puzzle, the end of the book, the barley harvest. So my books are in here. The Jubilee's in here, the 7 feasts, that stuff's in this book. But laid out in a way like putting a puzzle together that'll make really good sense to you. Okay? Now, to finish up, what's going on? The Roman system, if it's coming back, and it is, that means that there's a man going to come on the scene who's going to be the political guy, who will be the Antichrist. If my pick that I picked in 2014 is true, and we don't know if it is or not, if my guy that I have picked for all these years is the one, he's already here. He's already in Washington. And he's already running America. No, it's not Joe Biden. You got to be kidding me. But it may not be him. And I've never been dogmatic that I'm sure it's him. He's just my first pick. There's things going on in England right now. I'm hearing rumors that the King Charles may be going to transfer power to his son, William and Kate. Remember, that could be interesting. But I don't know. I don't know if they have a part to play on the world scene or not. It remains to be uncovered. And so now, what about the religious guy? The religious guy comes on the scene along with the Antichrist, and he's gonna point people to him. He's got to be on the scene, just like the Antichrist. If this is getting ready to happen, both of those men have to be somewhere ready to take their place in prophetic history. Prophecy is history told in advance, right? So who is he? He could be the Pope. But let me say this, and I started to say this earlier and I got sidetracked. The Roman church, the Roman religion, the Roman religious system has its roots all the way back to Nimrod in Genesis 10 and 11, the ancient Babylon. Or as my co-host, Dr. Hilterbiddle says, Babel, back in Babel. Okay? And so that system, it's not just the Roman system, it's the Roman system, but it's made up of all of them. Somehow this guy's got to bring the world's religions together, and he's going to do it and we're going to be taken out of the way, so we won't be part of it, and because they're not going to get me in that system, and but it's going to happen. That system is coming. That system is here. We can see it. And by the way, the system is growing. The Roman system, the Roman religious system is growing around the world, and especially right here in America. We have 6 Roman guys, Roman Catholics, on the Supreme Court. 6 of the 9. We have, I don't know how many congressmen and senators. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all these, they're Catholics. We've got our vice president, Trump's vice president. His nominee switched over in recent years to become Catholic. So did I lost her name again, the black lady, the real conservative girl. Oh, I can see her face, but anyway, I told you about that already. She has converted. This is strange. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. The world is being prepared for the end time. The world is being prepared for God's final jubilee. The world is being prepared for the one world kingdom. The world is being prepared for the one world religious system. It's all happening as we speak. And we, the old-fashioned believers still here, are like a car on the wheel. We're stopping the wheel. We're slowing it down. And one of these days, we're going to be out of here, and it's all going to fall into place rapidly. I mean, extremely rapidly. Listen, the one world financial system's already, it's ready to go. And all they need is a great crisis. By the way, some of that could happen with the rapture. The mark of the beast is not till the middle, but that doesn't mean that the one world financial system couldn't be here at the rapture or even before the rapture. But the problem is the one world system isn't fully in place yet as far as one man leading it. That's not going to happen till the beginning of the tribulation. So, but the financial system, the world could become digital pretty quick. And all it needs is that one man to come in a great crisis, and he institutes the one world digital system, and all the nations of the world get into it. And you get your chip in your hand or your forehead. And by the way, ever wonder about that chip in the forehead? Ever wonder why the right hand or why the forehead? Well, what do people do all day long? They look at their device, their phone. Mine's over here. I can't do it, but ain't that what everybody's doing? They're looking down. Wouldn't that be a good place for it right there on the forehead? You can do all your transactions right there from your forehead. Makes a lot of sense. Now, it wouldn't have made sense 100 years ago to anybody, but it makes sense today. And by the way, nobody understood this 100 years ago. Nobody understood the, scanning your hand or scanning a package at the register. Um, Kids today, anybody under 50 today, grew up with this stuff. I mean, they grew up with it. It's natural to them. They don't understand a system before the scanning things at the cash register. Us older people understand the pre-scanning days when we was little. But you 30-year-olds out there, you don't have that memory because there was no such thing. Everybody scans. It's all done computerized now. So what's Henry VIII got to do with all this? What I found with the story of Henry VIII is a parallel. I call it a prophecy, a 500-year-old prophecy. Remember now, Henry VIII lived in the 1500s. And, the old song said, I'm Henry VIII, I am. Many of you know the story of Henry VIII a little bit. You know the story of Anne Boleyn. The story called Anne of 1,000 Days. Many of you have heard of that. And Henry VIII was married to Catherine. That was his brother's wife. And they had no children. And his brother died. And so Henry marries his brother's widow. Okay? She's staunch Catholic. Now Henry is too, but not like Catherine. And Catherine is the Vatican, the Pope's tool in Great Britain, in London. That was their listening post. They could find out they could keep tabs on what was going on in the kingdom from Catherine. So Henry, had a woman problem. He had wandering eyes and wandering hands, and you know the story. Anne Boleyn comes on the scene. She has a sister, and there's two sisters. Well, Anne gets the eye of the king, and of course the parents are very excited. This is a big deal for them. This can get them elevated in the kingdom, get them money, get them stature, get them properties, and and it does. So he's trying to have an affair with her, but Anne is a little different than some of the other girls, and she refuses. She says we've got to be married. So what does Henry do? He contacts the Pope by messenger. He sends a man by horseback or boat or whatever to Rome to get permission from the Pope and the bishops to divorce Catherine. And he had his excuses that we won't get into all that, but he had his reasons why he thought he had the right to divorce her. And Catherine denied all of that, by the way. And so weeks later or months later, word comes back from the Pope, from the Vatican, from the Holy See, as they call him. It is not lawful for thee to divorce Catherine. So what did Henry VIII do? Anybody remember? He divorced the Catholic Church. And he divorces Catherine, and he marries Anne Boleyn, and he institutes what they call the Church of England. So he dumps the Catholic Church, dumps the Pope, throws the bishops out, all the cardinals throws them out. And he says, we're no longer Catholic here. We're going to be the Church of England, and I, as the king, will be the head of the church as well as the head of the state. It all happened in one day. The king became not only the king of state, head of state, but on that day, he became the head of the Church of England. He had all the power now. No more religious guy counseling him, telling him what was lawful, what wasn't, what was right, what wasn't. No longer would the bishops christen anybody or put the crown on the king and all that. Now it would be the Church of England. And by the way, in future years, they're going to go back and forth. They're going to, because I'd love to tell you the story of Elizabeth's sister Mary. But see, Henry had two daughters, Elizabeth, who's the daughter of Anne Boleyn, after he divorces Catherine, and then Catherine's daughter, Henry VIII's daughter from Catherine, is Mary. We call her Bloody Mary, and she's staunch Catholic like her mother. But Elizabeth is not staunch Catholic. In fact, she leans the Protestant Reformation's coming in. Martin Luther's on the scene. All this is happening. Elizabeth is on the Protestant end of this, and so there's a long story here. It's all explained in here. Who takes power when Henry dies, but eventually Mary gets on the throne. She starts persecuting and killing Christians, burning them at the stake, cutting their heads off. And then she's dying, and she appoints her sister Elizabeth. Still, I can't understand why she did it, other than they were siblings, half sisters. But why she did it, it's God, I guess. And she appoints Elizabeth. Elizabeth takes the throne. Now, before Mary took the throne, there's another lady named. Well, let me read it for you here. Lady Jane Grey. Lady Jane Grey is called the 9-Day Queen. I think it's the 9-Day. I have it written down. I think it's the 9-Day Queen, because that's how long she was the queen. And then Mary had her arrested, put her in the tower. Months later, she'll be put to death. I have something from Lady Jane Grey in this red box. Now, if you have this book, and if you look at page 10 and you don't have the red box, then you have the first edition of the book. And I didn't have this in there, and I felt bad about it. When you study Lady Jane Grey, you'll cry like a baby. What a testimony that 15 or 16 years old. She's going to be led to the block. She's going to have her head cut off. You need to read that story. You need to hear what she said. You need to read the letter she wrote to the Catholic guy that was sent to convert her by Mary. And she schooled him and told him what the Bible said. And I'm telling you, she was amazing. So anyway, Mary has her killed. Mary's called Bloody Mary, and then Elizabeth will come on the throne later, and she's going to be the longest serving queen for many years until recently. The queen that just died a couple years back, she beat her out. But by the way, she's the Virgin Queen. She never married, and she's the one. It's in the book. She's going to appoint James. She's going to appoint King James to be the king. He's going to give us the King James Bible. Woo, that's amazing. Now here's the story from the book. Here's the prophecy that I call it a prophecy. It's not, but what happens in the middle of the tribulation is exactly what happened to Henry VIII when they told him he couldn't marry Anne. He divorced the Catholic Church, threw them out, and became the head of his own church. He became head of state and head of the church in one day. That's exactly what's going to happen in the middle of the tribulation. In the middle of the tribulation, somewhere abouts, the Antichrist will no longer have need of this religious guy. After all, he's gone into the temple. He's killed the two witnesses. There's no more preaching anymore. Those are the last two guys. The 144,000 Jewish men are there. None of them are saved yet. And he goes in the temple, and suddenly he declares that he's the Messiah. He's him. What does he need the false prophet for anymore? He doesn't. And you'll find this in Revelation 17, where he has no need of, he throws her off his back. And there's a picture in here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. The woman riding the beast. Okay? The woman is not the Antichrist. The woman is the false prophet. Now it's figurative. It's not a woman. It's a man. I believe the Antichrist is going to be a man, and the false prophet will be a man. But that one world church is called the woman in Revelation 17, right? And there's the woman riding the beast. By the way, they had in Greece, I believe it was, they had a symbol similar to this at the in this polished metal. I had a picture of it, and I think it might be in one of my books. But they don't even hide it. The woman riding the beast, and that's the church riding the political system. See, Rome has done that for centuries. Now they don't have as much power today, but they're still there. And by the way, they're not just a religious system. They have embassies in countries around the world. They own property everywhere. They own thousands of acres in America. And so this is going to be fulfilled again at the middle. So what am I saying? I'm saying that this religious system is going to be headed up by a man. That man must be on the scene somewhere, ready to take his place in prophecy when that day comes. And it could already be happening before the rapture. You couldn't be sure because after the rapture it'd be a piece of cake. If we were still here, you'd know who it was right away. But that doesn't mean we won't have a glimpse before the rapture and say, hey, that guy fits the bill. I think that's him. And it's possible that the Antichrist could be visible before. The Antichrist is most likely somebody that's already known in the world. It's not going to be some stranger that no one's ever heard of, but So these things are taking place. It's the return of Rome. Rome has never left, and it's getting stronger. It's coming back. You can see it. You can see it all around us. You can see it with the religious stuff. You can see it in politics. You can see the one world system and the Babylonian thing. It's all in front of our eyes. Now, what does that mean? That means look up. Your redemption draweth nigh. We're at the final stages of this thing. We're in the final moments of the church age, the Laodicean church age. The trumpet is about to sound, and we're getting out of here. Now, it could be this fall, it could be next fall, or it could be a year after that. But it's soon. What's a year? What's 2 years? After 2,000 years, what's 3 years? Nothing. And it's coming. It very well could be this fall. I think Doc and I did a show. We talked about how interesting 2030 was on the calendar. 2030 to me, I'm freezing up on YouTube, Esther says. Anyone else having that problem? I wonder why. Huh. This is YouTube. Now, Facebook. Anybody on Facebook having any problem with that? They're saying I keep Esther and Van are both saying I guess I keep freezing. But anyway, we're almost done, and we will upload this. You'll be able to come back and watch it. I haven't noticed it on my end, but so I don't know. Usually, when that happens, I see it happen, but I'm not seeing it. I haven't seen any of that tonight. So I don't know. All right, Barbara says Facebook has not frozen. Scott says it has not. But 2 people on YouTube have said that YouTube has frozen up a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so Ladybug says, Dan, could the Antichrist be like Judas? Sure, Judas was like was like a figurative Antichrist, and he's called the son of perdition. That's why people jump to the conclusion, oh, the Antichrist is the son of perdition. Well, that was Judas. No, Judas died. He went to his place, and they say, oh, his place. They jump to conclusions that he's in some place waiting to come back. I do not believe that, and I do not believe that. So, and I don't believe that can be proved with the Bible. All right. Well, I hope I've been some help to you. Don't forget, keep an eye out tomorrow. I will put the brand new Daniel study guide that's going to be ready hopefully by the end of September. It'll be this size book. It'll be spiral bound. I'm not sure, 50 to 100 pages, probably less. I don't know. It'll be less than 100 pages. I'll say that. And it's going to be spiral bound. It'll open up flat on your desk. It's going to be book size. Wait till you see the cover. I told my wife what I wanted. Half an hour later, I went in there and holy cow, is that it? And she had some different samples. No, that's it. That's what I want right there. That's the way most of the books happen. I mean, all of a sudden, there it is. And that happened with this book. It was a little longer process with this. We had another picture in mind. In fact, it was, we originally were looking at this picture to use for the cover, but I wound up using this for something else. And she had found this, and she put this together. I said, oh, that's it. That's it. And I like it. So she's good at that stuff. Someone from our ministry, someone that watches our program, called a few weeks ago, and he's writing a novel, a fiction book, and he wanted some help. And my wife is doing it for him, putting it together, doing some proofreading. She's doing the cover, and she had the format. It was all just in a big Word document. She had to put it in book form, and so